Hello, everyone. Happy Make It Happen Monday. We're going to give it a few minutes before we start. So we just want to welcome everyone in. We will start in just a few moments.
Now, was she an accent that one? Was she an accent that one? She woke. She has a cane and everything. No, she has no cane. Oh no, she has a cane.
Melissa, Doc, I can't share from BER.
You can't share from BER?
No, I only got like, comment, and send.
I'm on live on BER though, because it's one of my platforms. So if you want it like on mine, when I share, it's one of the ones that I can share directly to. So when I went live, it went live directly to that one. If that makes sense.
It does. I'll go to your page now.
And guys, we decided to do this just off of a spur of a moment. Hence we don't have all the graphics and the music, and we were having a conversation. And I was watching how everyone was so excited about Christmas, and I just wanted us to continue that same energy for Kwanzaa. And so I asked, of course, the two people who I know the most about Kwanzaa to join me, which are Principal Kafele, lovingly known as Principal Kafele, and Dr. Chika Akua, who will be joining us later on. He won't join us tonight, but he will be joining us this week because we're going to do 7 days. We're gonna break each principle down, and we're going to talk about how you can apply that principle to you personally and professionally in order to impact your community. We don't want this just to be something that we do just for Kwanzaa. We do it and then we forget about it for the next 365 days minus 7. What's that? 358, 359. Me and math are friends. But we want this to be something that we do continually, and we're intentional about how we think about Kwanzaa and what its principles means and how we use those in our daily lives, personally and professionally, in order to impact our community. So thank you. Yes, Miss Larry or Habari Ghani, to you as well. And yes, Umoja, Facebook user. We won't be able to see your names unless you allow StreamYard permission to share. So it'll just show up as Facebook user if you don't add it. So thank you so much, Ms. Darielle, for joining us. We have some others on here. It's just going to say Facebook user Umoja. We have Unity. And yes, Sora Nika, we know that Unity is so important. We want to make sure that we're utilizing this again every day. So we're going to give it a few more minutes before we start. And when we start, we'll talk about a few things. We'll unpack some things. We'll talk about Black Educators Rock, what that is, who that is, why that is. Then we'll speak a little bit about who Principal Kafele is, and we'll let Dr. Chika say who he is when he comes on. We'll get into the conversation. If there is anyone who thinks that they want to add to this conversation, you can message me and I'll share the platform to join us, because Principal Kafele and Dr. Chika are going to be speaking from a school perspective, a school community perspective. If there's someone who wants to speak on the community at large, you feel you have some insight and you want to share, then we will definitely allow you to join us. Right? So we look forward to having this conversation in just a moment. Flatbush, New Jersey. I'm sorry, I'm from Florida. What's that? Flatbush is New Jersey, right?
Flatbush is Brooklyn, New York City.
Brooklyn, New York.
So we got Flatbush in the building?
We got Flatbush in the building.
There you go.
So it is about 8:07. I'm going to give it 3 more minutes before we start. And hello from DC. Now, don't y'all get mad at me when I say this. I'm in Jacksonville, Florida. Y'all, it's cold. And y'all don't know. We know cold. Y'all, it was 20-something degrees here in Florida. What? With a wind chill of 14, like it was cold for us. Everybody want to penalize us because y'all don't know. We know cold. Cold is relative. When you're used to 70-something degrees and all of a sudden you're facing 20-something degrees and some wind chill, you don't know how to act. So I hope everyone is staying warm.
Folks were saying they wish they had
Christmas, Todd, we're in Kwanzaa now. Today is the first day of Kwanzaa, so happy Kwanzaa and Umoja to you. Yay, Dr. Chika. They've already started their candle lighting and their book. Wildwood, it's cold in Wildwood, right, for us. Good evening, Michael.
That's my man right there. Dr. Houston in the building.
Yes, Dr. Sheikah. Love me some Dr. Sheikah. Hey, Central. It's so good to see you. I miss you. I haven't seen you since the conference. We look forward to seeing you soon as well. You're in Texas, but you're out of Miami, so we know you're tripping in Texas right now. Happy Kwanzaa, Jeff. Happy Kwanzaa, Tammy. We are so excited you guys are joining us. I'm going to give it a couple more minutes. We see people coming in and continue to say hello and put in the comments and share the platform. Again, we want to have that same energy about Kwanzaa that we have about Christmas. You know, we want to have that same energy. And we want that energy to be 365, not just the 7 days of Kwanzaa. And so I asked again my big brothers, Dr. Chika and Principal Kafele, hey, would you guys talk with me about Kwanzaa? And they agreed. And so here we are. I know you had to go find your coat, right, Monica? Because you know, y'all, we don't have real coats, y'all. Some of us had to go buy some coats because we don't own real winter coats.
Especially when you get deeper south in Florida.
How do you take off Facebook user? Principal Kafele, correct me if I'm wrong, but what they have to do is what? They have to go into their settings, right?
Here's what's happening. Facebook is doing something where you can monetize your posts depending on how many. So they switched everybody's account. So if you look at your account, it says profile something, but it's not what it used to be. You got to switch it back. There's a button there that you can switch it back to the original format from about maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And then when you post onto StreamYard, you'll show up. But if you don't, then you'll come on as Facebook user. Because it happened to me on Eight Black Hands. And I said, okay, let me switch back over. It says digital something by your name. And you got to switch it back to the original format of your page.
Miss Doriel says, go out and click the StreamYard link.
That might work. Yeah. It didn't work for me, but it may work. But see them, yeah. But the folks that are watching on Facebook Live, as opposed to StreamYard, then they're gonna have to do what I said.
And that's just go to their profile and just change it.
Yeah, they got to get out of that direct. It's digital. No, not contributor. Digital. Is it contributor? Digital content something, and maybe it's, yeah.
All right. Well, it is 8:10. And so what I want to do is go ahead and get started so we can have this very impactful conversation. Again, if you do not know who I am, allow me to please introduce myself. I am Dr. Melissa Chester. I wear a lot of hats, but the hat that I am most proud of is the co-founder and CEO of Black Educators Rock. Black Educators Rock is a national nonprofit. I always have to say we're so much more than a Facebook group. Most people know us because we started from a Facebook group where we grew to over 150,000 Black educators in a very short period of time. And it was just because the space was needed. It was a space where we could all just share resources, inspire and encourage and uplift one another. And because of that Facebook group, I felt the need to start a nonprofit. We needed to be more meaningful and more intentional than just a Facebook group. And so we do have a national nonprofit. We host an annual summer professional development conference every summer since 2016. During COVID, we took the conference virtual, but we are so excited to say that we will be back face-to-face in 2023. The conference will be Thursday, July the 14th through that Sunday, which is the 16th. The Sunday always culminates with Principal Kafele doing an intensive 4 to 6 hour boot camp for aspiring principals and assistant principals. And it's always very, very, very powerful. And so we will be sharing information about the conference very, very soon. Those of you who have gone to the conference know that it is the best kept secret. It's quite impactful. We call it the family reunion of education because it's FUBU, it's for us, by us, and we are unapologetically Black in the spaces, and we're just sharing instructional strategies and practices, professional knowledge, and advocacy and empowerment in order to help each other along this way, this very difficult way of education. Um, Again, that is the role that I'm wearing tonight, and I'm super excited about it. Two people who have always supported me in my journey of Black Educators Rock are going to be joining me to talk about Kwanzaa. Principal Kafele was actually at the inaugural conference. Y'all, when we were nobody, we were just a thought in our little heads and hearts. Someone was like, Dr. Chester, you got to reach out to Principal Kafele. He's like, he's worldwide. And I was like, well, why is he going to come to our conference? We're just this little small conference just starting. They told me to reach out. I followed, I listened, and who knew that God would put it on his heart to say, you know what, I'm there. Anything that is about, the culture and encouraging our educators, they were there. And guys, he has been on this ride with me ever since. I am thankful. I am grateful to have him as my big brother, my confidant, and my advisor. And so I'm going to allow him to tell you, if you don't, you've been under a rock in education if you don't know who he is, but he's going to tell you who he is and some of the things about himself before we get started in this conversation. Principal Kafele.
All right. Thank you, Melissa, Dr. Chester. Good to see everybody. Happy Kwanzaa, Habari Gani. And the response to Habari Gani would be today's principle, which is Umoja, meaning unity. That's a key Swahili word. And so it's Habari Gani, you would say Umoja, and then you would say Habari Gani back to me, and I would say Umoja. Habari Gani means what's the news, so it's like saying what's up, right? So with that, I'm just a guy trying to do his part. I'm an educator, been an educator for 34 years, 35 years on January 1st. And so been doing it for a long time as a teacher, as a principal, as a speaker, as a consultant. This is my life. This is what I do. I should also say as an author, as a live streamer, and just, whatever channels, whatever vehicles that I have to reach the masses of the people. That is what I do. So another one I might say as a blogger, right? So, all that good stuff. And that's my story, sticking to it.
Thank you, Principal Kafele. And so he mentioned Habari Gani and Umoja, but we first want to just give them a little history about Kwanzaa, because we take for granted, because we're Black, everyone knows what Kwanzaa is. And your post is what prompted me to want to do this tonight, because I was so glad when you posted the post and you made the statement of, listen, this is not an alternative to Christianity. It's not like this is a religion. It's a principle. It's something that was created and has been going on for a couple of decades now. And so I would love for you just to share that history as to how Kwanzaa came to be. And then we'll get into that first principle, Umoja.
Yeah, let me try to keep from doing a mini lecture. Like I say on my live streams on Saturdays, first hit that share button. Somebody hit that share button. Let them know we are here live, right? So hit the share button or tag somebody and let them know we're here. We're talking Kwanzaa. We're gonna do this for 7 days. So it was interesting. I got up this morning and sat up in my bed and started posting before I even got my day started. And I wrote that post that you saw, Doc, about Kwanzaa, but it was just a brief summary, and it went kind of viral. It's last time I checked, it had over 500 shares, and it wasn't, and it's been a few hours since I checked it, but it resonated with a lot of people. About over 1,000 likes and all that kind of stuff, and it resonated with a lot of people in ways that I did not anticipate that it would. And let me just shout out Vicky Gorman Baxter real quick. I'm not gonna be doing shout outs, but she's up there in Buffalo in 4 feet of snow. So definitely want to shout her out. And she shared some things in a message that just is brutal up there, car towed and not know where it is and all that kind of stuff. But prayers to all the folks up there in Buffalo dealing with all this unprecedented snow, even for Buffalo, New York. But yeah, let's go to Kwanzaa here. Kwanzaa, its origins are back in first. I want to go back to before it was created, and I'm kind of going to be all over the map because there's so many different thoughts in my head, and I'm not using a script. But let me go to the post I wrote this morning. Kwanzaa is not an alternative to Christmas. It's not an alternative to any holiday. It's separate unto itself. And before I get into what it is, there's a lot of people who still to this day, we're talking about a holiday that was created in 1966. We'll talk about the creator and all that in a little while, but created in 1966. And I still hear people say things like, well, that's just a made up holiday. And my response to that is always, all holidays are made up holidays. They didn't fall from the sky, right? They were created by somebody for a purpose. So you take, for example, the 4th of July, right? I mean, it was created as a result of America's independence from Great Britain, right? So now we celebrate independence, Declaration of Independence, etc. It's a holiday that did not exist before 1776, right? So when we look at Kwanzaa, it's just later on, but there was a need. Here you got a man by the name of Dr. Malana Karenga from out in LA, Los Angeles, a scholar, a historian, a researcher, 2 PhDs. There's so much that could be said about him. He created this organization called US back in 1965 as a direct response to the rebellion in Watts, California, Los Angeles, California. He created this communitarian cultural nationalist organization called US. And out of US came a philosophy called Kawaida, which I'm not going to get into tonight. That'll just take us way off the path. But out of this Kawaida philosophy was created this holiday called Kwanzaa. And the whole motivation behind that was, when you look at the 12 months in America, there was no holiday that Black people could gravitate to outside of, say, the religious holiday, such as Christmas, but no holiday, culturally speaking, that Black people could gravitate to and say, this is us. Like, I can't gravitate to July 4th. I can't gravitate to Thanksgiving. Of course, family comes together, and we've kind of remixed it and make it so that we can celebrate our own families and ourselves. But in terms of the origins of it, I can't gravitate to that, right? And you look at the various other holidays, I can't gravitate to those days because culturally speaking, they mean nothing to me historically, to me culturally. So Dr. Karenga, that's his same thinking at the time in 1966. So him, along with other brothers and sisters who were in LA with him under the banner of the US organization. And matter of fact, there's one right here. I'm in Jersey City, so brother out here in Newark who recently transitioned, brother Amanifu, he was right there with Karenga when Kwanzaa was created. You think about James Mtume, he was right there with Karenga when it was created. So there's a lot of folks from different parts of the country, including locally here in Jersey, who were with Karenga when he created this 7-day holiday called Kwanzaa. So again, he wanted to create something that Black people could hold on to, they could embrace, they could call their own, where they're celebrating, or we're celebrating ourselves. So in terms of giving it a definition, Kwanzaa is the celebration of the Black family, Black community, and Black culture. So it is specifically and unapologetically Black, right? That's just what it is. So if someone had a difficult time with that, then Kwanzaa is probably not for them, because although one could be born Black, there's nothing there to compel you to celebrate it, right? But as we unpack what it is, then I would ask the question, why not celebrate it? Why not embrace it? Because the ingredients there for Black empowerment are right there within the holiday. So let's break it down a little bit, and then we'll get to the principle of the day. So Kwanzaa. People ask, and in fact, what I'll do is just think about the questions that people typically ask, right? Why is it in December, right? Why those particular dates, December 26th to January 1st? And very simple. In various parts of the continent of Africa, there are these celebrations called first fruit celebrations. First fruit celebrations are when the people come together to gather the fruits and vegetables and the crops that were grown over the year. So that harvest, when now we're going to gather all that work that folks labored over for an entire year, and now we come together for a harvest, and it was called first fruit celebration. So the harvest on the one hand in terms of the fruits and vegetables, but on the other hand, the people coming together. So there's a dual celebration there. There's a celebration of the harvest, but there's a celebration of the people in terms of the labor that they endured throughout the course of a year. So it became known as the first fruit celebration, Kwanzaa, which that is the translation of the word Kwanzaa. And it happened, he put it in December because it coincides with the first fruit celebrations that took place in Africa, going all the way back to ancient times, right? So that's the reason. It's not like, let me choose between Christmas and Kwanzaa. That's not what it is. It just happened to coincide in terms of dates, right? So as he created it, he looked at, and a lot of people don't talk about this, but I do. There was a time when I was doing Kwanzaa seminars all over Jersey and New York City for years. And then when I started becoming known, and this is literal, when I started becoming known as Principal Kafele versus Baruti Kafele, folks forgot that I know Kwanzaa, right? So the invites kind of stopped, or they kind of just swayed a little bit. And I'm trying to make sure that people know that I know Kwanzaa and I can speak on Kwanzaa, right? Kwanzaa is in me. So there are these 5 fundamental practices, and I'm quoting Karenga in terms of this language. He calls them these 5 fundamental values and practices of Kwanzaa, right? Before we get to the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles. And I'll go through them quickly. The first of the 5 fundamental practices is called ingathering of the people, right? So he's saying, in terms of what Kwanzaa is, we can never forget these 5 fundamental practices. So the first is just the people coming together, which is reminiscent of the first fruit celebrations, right? The Kwanzaa, which the translation again is Kwanzaa, the word. So the ingathering of the people, where the people come together, unified, working together collectively. Secondly, reverence for the creator and the creator's creation. So this extreme reverence for the Most High, as Dr. Akua would say, right? This extreme reverence for our God, but also reverence for the creation. So things that God created is one of the practices, the second fundamental practice of Kwanzaa, right? Where it's the same thing with whatever your religion or spirituality would be, your reverence for your God. Well, in this case, reverence for God, but also simultaneously reverence for everything that God created, particularly the good, right? Number 3, what am I saying? I wrote this and I can't read my writing, so let me not read my writing and let me just talk to y'all. Commemoration of the past, right? Commemoration of the past. So in other words, a deep, earnest study of the history of Black people, right? And just commemoration of who we are, because right now there's so much widespread amnesia as to who Black people are in America and across the diaspora, Western Hemisphere, Eastern Hemisphere, all over the world. You got people who have never been exposed. Forget about being exposed to Kwanzaa, haven't been exposed to who that is in their mirror, right? So I know my name. I know the name on my birth certificate, but I don't necessarily know who I am historically, whether it be within continental USA or North America, or in African history or ancient African history. Who am I? So commemoration of the past. 4th practice, recommitment to cultural values. So we've been in this country and we have literally lost a lot of our culture. We have lost our way. We have lost a sense of or knowledge of who we are. So Dr. Karenga said there's got to be a recommitment to who we are, recommitment to cultural values. And one of those values, just thinking about what I just said, was the collectivity of who we are, right? That sense of community of who we are, as opposed to that individualism, which we find here in the capitalist structure, that has nothing to do with who we are culturally as a people. And then the last one is the celebration of the good. See, a lot of times when we talk about Kwanzaa, people think that we're talking about a celebration, period. Celebration is just a fifth of what Kwanzaa is, right? It's not, here we got 7 days of celebrating. No. Kwanzaa is about so much more than celebration, such as, again, the ingathering, the reverence, the commemoration, and the recommitment. And then we get to the celebration. And the celebration typically takes place on the evening of the 6th day of Kwanzaa. So in our world, in terms of America, in terms of the world, that's New Year's Eve. But in Kwanzaa, in a very strict sense, then we're not having a New Year's Eve celebration. We're having what's called the Karamu, right? That means feast. And that's us coming together to celebrate us, right? So that's the celebration. But the rest of Kwanzaa, it's all about the work. So with that said, we'll call that the backdrop. I summarize. We could spend like the next 24 hours talking about what Kwanzaa is, but let's go to the principle. Let's go to the first principle. But I'm gonna give it back to you, Melissa, in case you have a specific question for me.
Yeah, just before you get to that, I mean, that was powerful within itself, and like you said, that could be unpacked. I think the one that hit me, and we were literally just having this conversation yesterday around the dinner table, the breakfast table yesterday, about when you said about identity. Who are you in the mirror?
Yeah.
And that is such a powerful thing that I don't think Black people even think about anymore. Like, we don't, I was talking about just heritage, and some of us can't name our grandparents, let alone great and great great grandparents, and how much that contributes to who we are as individuals.
That's right.
I'm someone who met my father's side of the family very late in life, Principal Kafele, and it was like when I met them, I was like, oh, this is why I'm like this, and this is who I'm like. And to hear them say, you're like your grandmother, who I didn't meet until I was in my mid-30s. Getting that sense of identity is so, so important. And we've allowed society and media, social media, and just media in general to just water down who we are as people. We are so busy running from who we are as a culture while everyone else is trying to become us.
Yeah, they run into us.
Yeah, it's an odd phenomenon. And so that one was really, really big. That one, when you talk about identity and just recommitting to cultural values. And I think that's one thing that we also don't do well. And we see other cultures do it well, and they keep their sense of identity and they keep their sense of cultural values. But we tend to run from ours and try to take on the larger society's values. And it doesn't really work out for us. I was having a conversation with a colleague of mine. He's an educator. Tyrone McGriff in Tallahassee was one of my former students. And he was saying he had a slave mentality. And I was like, why do you say that? And he was literally saying, because in his career, being in education, he said, I'm always thinking about everyone else before I think about myself. And I said, but that's not slave. That's African. That's community. And that's where they've kind of gotten into our head and just twisted who we are. We are a village thinking people.
Yeah.
And we should not be unapologetic about that. Now, because we were talking about, the greater society, the majority of society, they do think about first. They think about self first.
Yeah.
And then everyone else later. And I was like, you just have to find that balance, but you should never be apologetic about always thinking about community first. And there are so many of us who think that way. And we feel that it has, I guess, mitigated who we are. It's lessened who we are. It's kept us from getting in spaces and places that we could ultimately be in.
And Dr. Karenga, there's a proverb that he uses all the time. He says, and we've all heard it, I am because we are, and because we are, I am. So that's always putting the we out front as opposed to the I, right? Not y'all are because of I, but I am because of we, right? And that's the way we got to look at it, right? I am because we are, and because we are, I am. So,
and you talked, wait, before you go on, you talked about commemorating of the past, but to commemorate the past, you got to know the past.
Got to know the past, right? That's the home part, but it's also the school part, right? But one thing that I always say, you know, as much as, because everybody wants to blame the parents, you know, you hear that all the time. If the parents would just do this, if the parents would just do that, right? But what if I'm parent and I'm victim of the same system of miseducation that my children are now? Then why are you expecting me to know something that I've never been exposed to? Right? I can't just pick up the right book if I don't know that the right book exists. Like a lot of
Mhm.
educators, they'll ask me, you know, and I appreciate that they do. They'll say, "What books do you recommend I start with?" Right? Because sometimes, you know, we can just go on the internet, go to Amazon and type in Black history, for example, African American history, and buy a book. Let me give you this example. I used to own a bookstore, a Black bookstore back in Asbury Park, New Jersey, in 1993ish, and there was in the African American in the African the Afrocentric community, the conscious community. There's an author, there's a scientist, researcher that everybody knows. His name is Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop, and he's from Senegal. And he was on this radio station, WLIB, up here in New York, when I had this store. So he wrote this book called Civilization or Barbarism. Now, he wrote many books, but this book in particular is probably the toughest one to read. So he wrote this book, Civilization or Barbarism. And now here comes everybody flocking to my store, and they wanted this book. So because I pretty much knew every book I sold, right? Because I'd read them. So I wouldn't just sell a book to a person. I'm a gauge what they know,
Right.
and then I'm gonna make a recommendation. So they said, I want Dr. Diop's Civilization of or Barbarism, and I said, well, let's talk. And then as we talk and I gauge what they know, I say, you don't want that. Because if I give it, if I could sell, it's a thick book and it's expensive book, so I'm gonna make good money off that book. But if they take it home and start trying to read it, they may get discouraged because it's too, if you don't have a basic foundation, then this is gonna be way over your head. So I said, no, don't, you don't want this yet. Let me recommend this book to you called Introduction to African Civilization by John Jackson. That's my sister on there, by the way. That's Gail Cushney Bell. Hey, sister. So I say, so I know my mother laughing, right? So because my mother's on here too, right? Wow. So here's the thing. So we can't just expect parent to just go out and buy a book or even go out and buy a book for their children, because parent may not know what to buy. So it's so important that these discussions occur within the community, etc., so that we can enlighten. Like, I'm glad the people who are on here, maybe there's someone on here that needs to know what's that first book to read, right? So, and I'm gonna make some recommendations tonight. But in terms of parent, again, you know, we can't always say parent. Parents gotta parent gotta take care of their part at home. I mean, I get it, but if parent doesn't know, then I'm saying schools got to do it. But here's the problem with that: teacher don't know either in so many cases, right? So that's why it's so important. It's why I treasure the work that I do in terms of my role as a consultant, to go to that superintendent, to go to that principal, to go to that teacher and have this conversation so that I can make certain recommendations as to what you need to read, so that first and foremost, I can look at that youngster through a very different lens, because now I have a sense of who he is, who she is beyond American pop culture. But by the same token, that youngster in turn being in a classroom with a teacher who is better equipped over time to begin to be culturally relevant and culturally responsive in that classroom. See, so, but that takes time. And I just wanted to kind of throw that in there. What's repeat the name of the book you did? Yeah. So now look here, Tammy Mills. I'm gonna give you that title, but if you don't have like that library in your home, you don't want that just yet. But it's called Civilization of Barbarism. But I'm saying, as a good introductory book, Introduction to African Civilization by John G. Jackson. Right. That would be my intro book for just understanding Africa beyond all the stereotypes and the distortions and all that kind of stuff that we've been exposed to for centuries here in America.
You said so much just then, Principal Kafele. But the main thing you said, we're always talking about the parents and the teachers. Teachers, most teachers are parents, and again, I always, me always say, oh, that's the devil. That's systemic, that's systematic. Like you said about teaching. I mean, we have people's children. Educators have teachers' children longer than they're with their children. We have them 8 hours a day. And so we have to understand just that extension of that, like you said. So we do have to take on that onus of educating ourselves so that we can educate children, be those the students in our class or our own children, which the students in our class should be an extension of our children.
Yeah.
If we are
And see,
truly in this work.
and see when we have that kind of access to parents and we can expose them. Let me isolate one. I got both my sons are literally sitting right here. Let me isolate one of them for a second. The appreciate that Facebook user. So I introduced both my sons to this is a part of my library. That's why I keep it on camera. I introduced them to a lot of the books in the library, right? But one of my sons, he moved differently. So he read the books. He read them all. But then because he had that foundation, he went to another level, right? So now it's like, and I tell him, I'm sitting here looking at him literally right now. A lot of what he knows, we can't have a conversation because we're not here. He's here, I'm here. See, so because he took this stuff and he said, okay, now I need to read what's in them footnotes, right? I need to read what's in them bibliographies. So now he reading stuff that I can tell you now I'm never gonna read. I'm just never gonna read it. He reads it. So he's here in our house and he'll talk this stuff, but we all looking at him like, yo, we don't know what you're talking about, right? Because so here's the point I'm making. I laid a foundation, right? That's all I laid a foundation with my books, and he took it and flew with it. See, so that's as parent, we just got to give them the exposure. See, when we give them the exposure, and see, that's what Kwanzaa is about. Because I know that sounds simplistic, but that's what Kwanzaa is all about. It's all about community, right? Again, the Black family,
Yes.
Black community, Black culture. That's what it's about by definition. But let's let since we got good number of people on here. Let's talk about, in addition to that definition, its purpose, right? Because I'm saying Black family, community, and culture is like definition, right? That's what it's about. But in terms of its purpose, the Nguzo Saba, the 7 principles, and I could put a period at the end of that. That's it. Kwanzaa is about the 7 principles, period. And one of the things when I was like lecturing on Kwanzaa, like I used to be invited to speak on Kwanzaa almost 7 days, the whole 7 days, right? I need to let people know I'm still here. I ain't just Principal Kafele, I'm Baruti Kafele still.
So you still
right?
do that.
They forgot, right? They got caught up into principle and forgot Baruti's still here. And another thing I found out, they thought because I'm a paid speaker, that applies to Kwanzaa. No, Kwanzaa is free. Right. So, but people they just assume that everything I do is there's a price tag with it, and it's not. It's just not the case. So he created the Nguzo Saba, meaning the 7 principles of Kwanzaa, and the whole premise is if we can take these principles and apply them to our lives. Not just for the 7 days of Kwanzaa, December 26th to I keep saying February, January 1st, but embrace them, claim them, own them. So what are we saying? Let me just rattle off the principles. I'm not going to get into all the others because I know that we're going to do 7 days, but let me at least recite them. And I'll say this as I recite them. I had to smile when I said this. As a teacher, I taught from 88 to 90 when I stopped, 97. And there is no class, no instruction until we recite the Nguzo Saba. Kiswahili, and English. There'll be no instruction. When I became a principal, guess what? There'll be no instruction until that entire school is standing on their feet and we recite the Nguzo Saba, Kiswahili, and English. Now, there are other things we recited too, but I'm just going to focus on that. So we did a lot in that homeroom period. We'll put it that way, right? So so I would lead that. You know, most of the things the students led, like the school mission and school vision and purpose and all that. But that Nguzo Saba, that was mine. So we stand. So they stand up, and I say, repeat after me, Umoja. And that whole school yelling, I could hear them through the walls, man. Umoja. We talking elementary, middle, and high school. So I say Umoja. They say Umoja. Unity. Kujichagulia. Self-determination. Ujima. Collective work and responsibility. Ujamaa. Cooperative economics. Nia. Purpose. Kaumba. Creativity. Imani. Faith. Nguzo Saba. 7 principles. That's every day. So during the morning announcements, we're reciting those principles. But then throughout the course of the year, we are learning the substance of those principles. See, we not just learning titles. We coming together on just a multiplicity of different occasions, and we're talking about what does Umoja mean? Let me give you an example. You may have seen this post. We're writing books. So this book is called The 7 Principles of Kwanzaa, the importance, making them a part of me, and making them work in my community. Essays by the 5th grade students of Ashland School, 94-95, Mr. Baruti Kafele, teacher. In other words, every student in the 5th grade has a page. Every student in the 5th grade addressed whatever principle that they may have wanted to address.
Yes.
And this is a project that we did every year. When they graduated in June, they graduated as published authors. We went on the #1 radio station in New York City and sat with the host named Imhotep Gary Bird, and he interviewed 4 of the students that I took to the studio. Then we went on and wrote Umoja. This was in 96. So I said to each student, I said, I need you to address Umoja, why it's important, how will you make it work how will I make it a part of me, and how will I make it work in my community? So every student had a page, right? Then we went to Kujichagulia, right? And then others, I don't have all the books with me. And then we even wrote a book one year, this was 94, My History and Culture Are Extremely Important to Me. This is when I taught 6th graders. So in other words, we not just talking titles. I got these students writing, man. They're writing about what this thing is, whether it be history, whether it be culture, whether it be Kwanzaa, whatever it is. But when we talk about Umoja, because that's where my focus is going to be today, I said, look, we you know, I grew up in East Orange, New Jersey. I taught in East Orange, New Jersey. I led in East Orange, New Jersey. These kids are living in East Orange, New Jersey. We have to have a conversation around Umoja, around unity. So we're talking about it all the time, but not just the abstract of what should be happening in the world, but we're having the conversation in terms of what's your role, right? We having that conversation, me as teacher, me as principal. So what's your role? What does it mean to you? How will you effectuate change in your home, in your neighborhood, in your community? We having those conversations, right? Then we transfer it into writing. But in addition to the writing, let me throw this piece. I don't have the article in front of me, or I would have shown you. We also converted it into public speaking. I said, if you're my student as a 5th grader, you gonna master that microphone. I don't care if you're shy. I don't care if you're introverted. You don't know when that skill may be necessary at some point later in your life. So I'm going to teach you how to use that microphone. Because by then I'm a speaker, but I started speaking in 86. So I'm gonna teach you how to use this mic, and I'm gonna teach you how to use a podium. Then as a principal, same thing. But what are we talking about? So you hear me? I'm saying you're gonna have to learn that microphone, but I'm talking about student voice. which is one of my components of equity. See, when I talk about equity, I say there are three components: student individuality, student cultural identity, and student voice. So with student voice, I'm saying I need these young people not just talking about whatever, but in this case, talking about how we going to bring about unity, Umoja. So with Dr. Karenga, he's saying the bedrock principle, Umoja. He gave it a definition: to strive for and maintain unity in the family, the community, the nation, and the race. And that's what we talked about. There's a post, y'all go to Facebook later, and you'll see a post with me and the students. We had just finished conducting a Kwanzaa assembly for the entire school. We had the Kanara and the Mission Masaba, which means the candle holder and the candles. And we did a whole hour and a half, 90-minute assembly teaching an entire school, but not me. I'm on the floor. I'm sitting there watching, listening to fifth graders teaching a school about Kwanzaa. Now, somebody is might be on the call, Melissa, and they saying, man, like if I did the stuff he's talking right now, I'd be unemployed. But see, here's the difference between me and if that person is on this call saying, I can't do that. You see this library over here? That thing made me feel like I was Superman. You know, so like nothing could stop me. My family's right here, they know. Couldn't nothing stop me. I'm going to be me. I'm going to be unapologetically black in those spaces, right? Ain't nothing going to stop me. So when the stuff, because it tried to stop me, you know, I faced termination. Don't get me wrong, right? But the community came out. How strong they come out? In the thousands, right? So the community came out. They said, y'all ain't messing with this dude. So the board had to vote 7-0 unanimously. You go back to work tomorrow, right? So, you know, it was all over the television and radio and all that. But I'm saying that to say, I wasn't backing down to nobody. I'm gonna be me. Cause see, you can't hear me, somebody. You can't be faking the funk now. Right, you can't be part-time black, right? It's like, you know, like people, like, I be black when I'm around black people, right? But then like in certain spaces, you know, I gotta retreat back to, you know, something a little bit different. See,
But Principal Kafele, you said a major thing though. In order to be that, you have to educate yourself.
yeah,
You have to be educated. You have to know the research. You have to know what you're talking about, or you're going to be unsure
yeah.
in your stance.
You got so in other words, folks, you know, we gotta read, man. And you know, I'm not reading at the level that I want to right now. Oh, Keith Brown on the call. You know, I don't do shout outs.
Impossible. Our other brother.
When it's Keith Brown, man, you can't just ignore it. You know what I'm saying? That's Mr. I'm possible.
I'm possible, baby.
You can't. Certain people, you just got to stop, man. So, hey, Keith, man, good to see you.
Yes, big brother. My other brother, good to see you. I hope to see you at the Rock Conference in the summer.
That's right. That's right. So, you know, so it's you know, it's like I'm saying to somebody, because somebody out there, because I'm probably the oldest one on this call right now, right? I'm 62. And somebody's out there like, man, I want to do it like Kafele, man. I want to get in there and I want to teach this stuff to these kids. But first you got to read, right? You got to know what you're talking about. So you got to read, you got to go deep on your reading. But then you got to have the wherewithal to align yourself with your community. See, you can't be the enemy of the community. You can't be the enemy of the parents. Right now, if you're in one of them diverse cities, it's integrated and so forth, same principles apply, because those white children, they need to know this story.
That's right.
See, the white children will see the rapper. The white children will see the basketball player, the football player, and equate that with the totality of Black life. It is a part of Black life. That rapper is part of Black life. That rapper with the most negative, heinous lyrics, that's part of Black life. But that's not the fullness of us. Like Chica always says, we got to look for the best in us, right? So we looking for Chris Gaston, what you do, go where it says what you call that again, Kim? Digital creator. Get out of that digital creator mode on Facebook and go back to your original mode, and your name and your picture will show up again, right? Because that's how I had to do it. Let me see what Chris said. This principal here in Jersey City, Chris Garrett in Jersey City. We saw how principal. Yeah, I appreciate you, Gas. That's my man. This is bad. I shouldn't say this publicly because then he might get in trouble in Jersey City, but I'm gonna say it anyway. That's baddest principal in Jersey City. I said it, right?
You better be in the right now for sharing that information.
So you got to read, but and see Chris Gaston, Principal Gaston, he knows this in terms of aligning yourself with the community. Man, Chris Gaston got nothing but love in this town, right? So now, if he needs to, stretch the boundary, he gonna be all right, because it's an army out here. That have his back.
But it goes back to what we're talking about, is the unity, the community. We've lost that aspect. We have to get the village and the community and the unity back. We individually have to start practicing it so that we're collectively showing that. We've lost that aspect of it. The village has it's minimized, it's dissipated. It's so lessened, and we have to get back to that. But there are, like you said, there are principals who are still implementing what you did. They took your model, and they ran with it. Like the Principal Chris Gaskins. I know Principal Ra in California, Principal Akbar out there in Newark. He's in Newark. Like they're doing that work, and how they did it was they understood community. They understand Umoja. They understand the Kwanzaa principles, that we're so much stronger together. Individually, we cannot do it. I am because of we. We are because I am. So we have to get back to that. And that is why I felt that this conversation was so important, because Principal Kafele, I say it all the time, we're in silos. So many of us are great. We're impactful. We're doing this work, but we're doing it in silos. And we have to find a way back to, going back to what you said earlier, our culture is community. Our culture is village. And we have to start implementing that, not sometimes, as you stated, not when it's just convenient, but all the time.
And John just put some heavyweights. Now he put the locals here, but Amiri Baraka, he's world renowned. His son Raz Baraka is the mayor of Newark, New Jersey, but Amiri Baraka was there as well. And in fact, he was his full name, Imamu Amiri Baraka. Dr. Karenga named him. And then Zaid Muhammad, that's my guy out here in Jersey. And Belozi, another strong advocate of Kwanzaa. He passed. He made his transition back in the in the teens, I think it was. And but these are three powerhouses right here in the Newark area.
So someone said we have to, there's so much truth being shared tonight. I like this one. We have to recommit ourselves to our village. I so love that, because we do. We definitely do.
Yeah. So I'm trying to think in terms. Yeah. Let me just go back to what I said, because I know there are educators on here, and I don't want to be reckless. So you got to go back to think about it. I would think. And somebody you put the comment in the thread, and we'll see it when Doc highlights it. But I would think, as a Black educator, that you entered this profession because you wanted to effectuate change for Black children. I'm going to make that assumption. You didn't come in here because you said I just want to teach, right? I just love teaching. I just love children. I don't think that was your motivation. I could be wrong, because what do I know? I don't even know who all is on the thread, but I'm going to assume that somewhere in your decision making, you said, I want to be the difference maker for Black children. So then here's what happens. We get into the school and we face a reality that it always puzzles me when folks say this is tough work. And I say, but didn't you know what it was before you came in? Wasn't that part of the reason that you came in here in the first place? So one of the things that educator, whether it be teacher, principal, counselor, whomever, one of the things that they discovered was a lack of unity amongst the children, right? So children, and particularly in the urban schools, children at war with one another. And how low of a grade? Kindergarten, right? All the way up to senior year. Children at war with one another. So I saw it the day I walked into the school in 1988 in Brooklyn. I saw it. Then when I came back home to Jersey and East Orange, I saw it. So the miseducation, the lack of cultural relevance, the lack of cultural responsiveness, the lack of equity, yeah, that's all there. But there's some bigger pictures that have to be addressed. And one of those bigger pictures, in the spirit of why we're on here tonight, was the lack of unity between the young people. So many young people were at war with one another. I got to address that. So some teacher somewhere will say, I gotta work on my classroom management toward ensuring that students are adhering to the rules. And I say, no, get rid of that antiquated, outdated talk. That ain't your issue. It's not your classroom management that needs improvement. I said, let's look at the macro. You got to look at the culture, the prevailing culture in that classroom as it exists right now. Principal, the prevailing culture in your school right now as it exists. You got to look at that. And then as you bring your team together, what are our strategies to address the prevailing culture in this school where children seem to be at each other's neck, so that we can build a sense of family, so that we can build a sense of unity, umoja, in that school? That's the way I approached it. So at its core, because we ain't gonna get all deep into that tonight, right? But at its core, I said, well, if I want them to be united, then I need to start using the word family. So when I address them, my students as a teacher, my students as a school principal, I address them every day as family. Good morning to my Sojourner Truth Middle School family. Good morning to my Patrick F. Healy Middle School family. Good morning to my North Tech family, right? So I'm planting seeds right there in terms of how I address them collectively, right? And then from there, we begin to build. And so as we begin to build, and the intentionality of building this sense of unity, this sense of family, oh man, we are morphing. We are transforming. We are transitioning into something very different because of the intentionality of the leadership. That matters. See, so unity, I'm gonna give it back to you, Melissa, but I'll say this. It could be somebody on the call right now, you're an educator and you kind of new to it, or it could be somebody on the call that you really care deeply about schools, but you're not necessarily an educator. Let me say this. If achievement is low, and I don't mean just test score achievement, any achievement, I'll say including test score achievement. If achievement is low and there's a lack of unity in that school, and your focus is on achievement and not addressing the lack of unity, that achievement's not going to happen for you. It might happen for them self-motivated kids who are going to achieve despite whatever's going on in that school. But for the masses in that building, if umoja, unity, is not a priority of the work you do, then you're not going to see that rise in achievement because you got dysfunction in your school.
And so what, Principal Kafele, just what you're saying, but at first, guys, it starts with us individually. And so the first thing we said was personally. It cannot transfer to a school space, a community space, a family space, a race or nation space if it is not in us individually.
Yes.
That is something that we all must really, really start to really, really contemplate and think about as we move into this new year. Principal Kafele, anyone who interfaces with me on any of my levels, professionally, personally, know that I'm always talking about the common denominator.
Yeah.
You are the common denominator. If numerators change, but you're the denominator. So if you're always talking about how things aren't right and this, have you ever looked at yourself?
That's right.
Because they're truly reflections of you. That you use it with the mirror. You're always there with that mirror. And I say common denominator. And so I want you, as you think about Umoja, as you think about Kwanzaa, the first day of Kwanzaa, and we love what it stands for, and we want to strive for and maintain that unity in our families, in our communities, in our nation, within our race. We first must start with ourselves. And the first thing, y'all, Principal Kafele, I got to go and say it. Damn, can y'all start speaking to each other again?
Oh man,
y'all don't even speak to each other. We just gonna keep it 100. I, as a black woman, I look at people in the face and I'm like, well, oh, I want to speak, but how she looking at me like don't speak. She gives me a look that say don't even speak. And I speak to people sometimes and I'm like, well, wow, they just really like they didn't hear me. It first just start with that simple thing. How you doing, king, queen, sister, brother, Mr., Mrs., doctor, such and such. It starts there. Just acknowledging one another. He spoke earlier about, the creation, the creator. We're all created from the creator. So how can we not honor and respect and love one another? How can we not do that? I tell people all the time, I don't understand. How can you not see greatness within other people? It's because you don't see greatness within yourself. But how can you not see greatness within yourself if you say you believe in the creator? Because he is in each of us.
That's right. That's right.
I get real confused, Principal Kafele, and real lost with that.
Yeah.
Within things that I'm in, because he was speaking to the school system, but those things are across our platforms, whether it be school, community, family, race, nation, etc. Who are you? How are you contributing to Umoja? How are you individually striving for and maintaining unity? What are you getting caught up in that is of little or no importance?
And I had posted, I went on a cruise to celebrate my wife's birthday. So that would have been the end of November. And I wrote a post while I was on the cruise about Black people when we're in the minority in white spaces and not understanding that we should be speaking to each other. Because see, here's the thing. Speaking, in particularly, I'm going to focus on man to man first, Black man to Black man. A head nod. Forget about speed. Forget about hello, hi, peace. Just a head nod, right? A head nod is speaking volumes to each other because the head nod is saying, I see you, I got you. See, that's what it's saying. And then there's so when we break down what we mean by I see you, I got you, we could write a dissertation on that, right? But when I walk past a brother, particularly when I'm in white spaces, and we in the minority, ain't many of us here, and you're gonna see me, and then when I'm about to speak to you, you look the other way,
right?
Like what is that about, man? Right? So, and it's interesting for me, this I'm gonna try to be very careful in how I word this because I don't want a different message to be conveyed. But it's like, all right, so you're gonna ignore me, but then it might be a space where I'm the keynote, and you never heard of me, but you see me before I speak. So in your mind, I'm just some guy, right? But we still in the minority at that conference, at that convention center, right? Or in your school, whatever it is. So in my mind, I know I'm the speaker. You don't know I'm the speaker yet, but the commonality that we have is I'm Black man, you Black man. So I want to say hi to you. So I'm about to like give you a head nod or say peace or good morning, whatever, and you turn away, right? So now I give the speech, right? Ooh, he's somebody, right? So now you all in my grill now at the end of the presentation, like, oh man, Principal Kafele, blah blah blah. Can we talk later? I'm like, but you ain't even look at me before you knew that I had some credentials. See what I'm saying? So I shouldn't have to walk around saying to folks, I wrote 13 books. I got 150 awards. I turned schools around to have credibility for you to say hi. But see, when we got that self-hatred working within us, if I hate the person in my mirror, then I damn sure hate you.
Period. See, that's it. If I don't like me, I can't like you.
Yeah. I can't like you if I don't like me. And sometimes we don't realize how deep the hatred is for self. Right. So as you said, that unity within, right? That unity of your spirits, that unity just of you. before you can even talk seriously about being unified with someone else. So let me holler at the Christians out there for a second, because I know more people are on before we started. Let me holler at my Christian brothers and sisters for a second who may not have heard the beginning, right? So therefore, I'm saying again, Christians, no contradiction between celebrating Kwanzaa and celebrating Christmas on December 25th. December 25th is like if my birthday is on October 22nd, right, which is the date, I could still celebrate my brother or my sister on October 23rd. So what? My birthday was the 22nd. If someone else's birthday is the 22nd, I could celebrate you and me at the same time. So with Kwanzaa, it just happens to commence on the 26th of December. But it ain't no contradiction to your Christian values. Your Christianity is your Christianity. Kwanzaa is not a religious celebration or holiday. Kwanzaa is a cultural celebration and holiday. It is the celebration, once again, of the Black family. It is the celebration of the Black community. It is the celebration of Black culture that has nothing to do with your Christianity in terms of any contradictions, right? So I just want to make that clear. If you Muslim, same thing. If you're Jewish, same thing. If you're Buddhist, same thing. I don't care what you are. Kwanzaa is not a religious holiday. Kwanzaa is a cultural holiday. I just had to make that point again for someone that may have checked in late saying, I can't celebrate no Kwanzaa, man. That contradicts everything I stand. That contradicts my Bible. No, it ain't got nothing to do with your Bible.
Yes, and as one of our viewer said, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Like, it doesn't even, like, I don't even know why there has to be this. But it's a way to distract and deflect. There is no contradiction between the two, the celebration of us. And again, as that Miss Jacqueline said, sometimes, guys, y'all not comfortable celebrating us. That's the truth. How can you not be into Kwanzaa when it is a celebration of us?
Yeah.
It should literally give you butterflies in your stomach. It should literally, like, excite you. You see how Principal Kafele talks about Umoja? Because he is excited about the celebration of us. True unity, right? It is not a contradiction to any religion. It is a cultural holiday. And so we hope that you guys are taking this conversation today. And I don't know how you felt about Kwanzaa before tonight, but if for some of those that are like, I didn't really vibe with it. Hopefully this is getting you some enlightenment. For those of us, it's like, oh yeah, it's cute, oh happy Kwanzaa, but we really weren't into it. You know, we want you to understand it. I know that we said 8 to 9, but that's one thing. When you have a great topic, it's hard to abide by that time. I know, and I don't want to miss Dr. Sheikah's question. She asked something for her 8 and 11-year-old. She wanted to know about the colors of the candles. She said they asked that question, so I did want to make sure that we touched upon that.
Without knocking stuff down. I'm gonna put a Kanara on the camera, right? A Kanara on the camera, right quick. Yeah, it is not celebrating, but yeah, there you go. I like that. He said particular faith heroes, religion heroes or sheroes. Kwanzaa does not stand on the principle of gift give. Yeah, let's we doing this for 7 days, and so thank you, appreciate it. We doing this for 7 days, and so I don't want to like try to do the whole night in one session, but there's so much that I do want to do. Do me a favor, take that down for me, Doc. So here's the, and I hope you're seeing the red on the left. I don't know how you guys are seeing us.
Yes, we do.
Okay, so each of these candles represents the principles, right? And you notice the black candle is in the middle. Right, and that's the first day, unity, and it represents Black people. So like when you light the candles, because what was Sheikah's question about the colors?
Yes, the colors of the candles that her babies wanted to know.
Yeah, so the red, black, and green, Karenga. Red, black, and green starts off with Garvey in 1926, right? The red, black, and green, and it went red for the struggle, for blood, the struggle, black for the people, green for the land, right? But Dr. Karenga, he rearranged the colors, and he put how do you do? He put the black first, right? And then the red, and then the green. So the black, when you light the candles, you always start with this candle, right?
What
In terms
candle?
of those who are purists in terms of how this should be done, because some kind of do it their own way. But in terms of the way it was created, you light this on. So today, this is the candle that would be lit, the black candle only. Because you'll see celebrations. You go to a Kwanzaa celebration on the first day, because I saw someone on the news today, and they got all the candles lit. That's a violation. It's just not done that way. There's certain liberties I take with anything in life, but certain things as it relates to Kwanzaa and other things that have certain principles, you got to do it the way it's supposed to be done. So you light the first principle. This is the Umoja unity candle. The second day, Kuji Chagalia, you relight the first day and the second day, and that's the only candles that are lit, right? And then you have your community or your family conversation around the principle of the day, and that's what it looks like. That's what it is. But so you'll go through a whole libation, a libation statement, a call to the ancestors, and then ultimately you have the conversation, or if it's a program, you have the program. But at some point, depending on your sequence of the candle lighting ceremony, today, unity, this is the only candle that will be lit, and it's black. Tomorrow, the first two. On the third day of Kwanzaa, Ujima, you would go in this order: black, then to my right, and then to my left. So go 1, 2, 3, and that's all it would be lit. Right? On the fourth day, you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, in that order. On the fifth day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the sixth day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then on the seventh day, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it goes back. It goes right, left, depending on which way you got it. Yeah. So left, right. Some, because I got it on the camera, so it's backwards. And that's the way you would light it. And then but when you see people like I'll go places, they'll go first day, they'll light this one. The second day, they'll go way over here, right? Or they'll go way over here. Then the third day, they'll go somewhere in here. I'm like, no. And my family knows I've interrupted some ceremonies and said, right? You can't do it that way. And other people's culture, and that might be what Keith is saying. We celebrate even Christmas. I know that. So Kwanzaa is unified. Yeah, exactly. So with Kwanzaa, you can't go in there and reinvent it, right? It's Karenga wrote. He got these. This is the first book he wrote on Kwanzaa, which I got my hands on back in 1984. Then he wrote this book. I'm throwing stuff all over the place. He wrote this book, and you can get these. No, this you ain't gonna find this, right? This is out of print. Right? You're not gonna find this book. You got to find somebody that has this book that will lend it to you, right? He wrote this in 1966.
Wow.
This book is probably out of print, but you could probably get some copies because he wrote a very thick book, which is the one that's out now. But Chika Akua, who will be on here with us on Wednesday, he wrote a book which I endorsed this morning called Kwanzaa, a Kwanzaa Awakening. And you can go right to Amazon, or you can go to chikaakua.net, and you can get that. And it'll give you a breakdown on what Kwanzaa is and how to celebrate Kwanzaa. And see, that's the thing. You gotta learn how to celebrate it, because there are ways to do it and ways not. Let me share this with you. As a principal, and I'm sure there's some principal out here in the world that has done this like I did. I just haven't met them yet. I know it probably happens in a private school, particularly in an African-centered school, but I was a public school principal. And on the last day before the holiday break, every year, I bring that entire school into the auditorium. I bring not just this, the Kanara and the Nguzo Saba, that's the 7 principles, but I didn't just bring this. I brought everything. The mat called the Mkeka, the fruit called the Mazal, the gifts called the Zawadi, which a gift would be a book, such as here's Karenga's Kawaida book. The Mohindi, meaning the corn, the Kakombe Cha Umoja, meaning the unity cup. And I don't know if I missed anything. I wasn't counting, but all the symbols of Kwanzaa, they all have meaning. And I bring all that to the stage. And I got, if you think about it, it's middle school. I got 800 kids sitting in the auditorium. And I got a captive audience, right? Captive audience. I am teaching the Nguzo Saba every one of those principles. I am teaching every one of those symbols. I'm teaching the history of Kwanzaa. Imagine that. The principal is on the stage in his African attire at a public school teaching everything Kwanzaa. And I got 800 6th, 7th, and 8th graders sitting there like this, listening, inner city, urban. They have the people right off. Oh, they'll never sit for this and that. They sat for Kwanzaa. They sat for anything I did in that auditorium, right? So just teaching them what this holiday is and how it relates to who they are, historically speaking, right? So yeah, you could, yeah, it's gonna be, Jacqueline, it's gonna be a replay right after we done. It'll be right sitting right on all these pages. Whatever you're looking at us on, it'll be there, right? But see, that's called principal leadership, right? That's called knowing how to align myself with people so that I can do the things that kids need. Because see, if I can't, hear me somebody, if I can't go in that school as the principal and teach Kwanzaa, then why they need me? They may as well get somebody else. Why you need me? Or let me say it differently. If I'm a be amongst my homies and I'm gonna talk black, like if I go to the Black Educators Rock Conference and I talk black, but then I get into that other space and I punk out, then why they need me? see, we got to be authentic, man. 24/7, you got to be able to be you. You got to be able to be yourself, like I'm being myself on this live. You got to be able to be yourself. You can't like, all right, let me gauge who the audience is and I'll determine which fraction of me will show up today. No, I'm walking in there every day, wherever I go, as Principal Kafele. That's Baruti Kafele. I'm walking in there as me, and if you can't handle me, that's your problem, not mine. But that goes back to that unity within, man. I'm gonna tell you something. If I ain't comfortable with nothing else in the world, I am comfortable in my skin. Right? If I ain't comfortable with nothing else in this world, I'm comfortable in my skin, y'all.
We have to get back to that. We've allowed everyone to make us uncomfortable in our skin. I don't know. It's such a complex thing. And so, I mean, we've been talking about it tonight, and hopefully those who are on, you're reflecting, because it is a time of reflection. You said that in your first, it's time to reflect. And as you prepare for that new year, I mean, it's not happenstance that it's December 26th to January and ends on the 30th, right? It's preparing you for the new. And so it is fine to make a change. It's fine to acknowledge and realize what's been going on and say, you know what? I'm committing to better. I'm committing to something different. Right?
Yep.
Listen, can't go with the wind. You're not grounded in your why and purpose. You got to be grounded in your why and purpose.
Gotta be.
And being authentic. So thank you guys for your comments.
Put that young lady back up with the why. Hey, Valerie, let me just say this real quick, Doc. Valerie, I'm so with what you just wrote. Can't go with the wind, not grounded in your why and purpose, not a leader. But you know what the challenge is, Valerie? I know this definitively because of the work I do. There are people out here that don't have a why. They just wake up and they live life, and then live life for the day, and then they go to sleep at night. But see, that means, if I could, symbolize it, that means their life is like this. They just all over the place. See, I don't live this. I don't know this. Like I tell my son all the time, by both my sons, there's a lot of things in the world I don't need to know. I don't care, because they ain't got nothing to do with me, right? They, that particular son I was just talking about, Baruti, he want to know everything in the world, right? I don't need to know. I don't want to know. All I want to know is the things that fit right here in this space right here. Look how narrow that is. That's all I really want to know, right? Because the things that are consistent with my why, well, that's not this. If it's not consistent or compatible with my why, I don't need it. But if it's consistent with my why, it can usually fit in a very tight space. But think about, Valerie, that one that's like, you say, what's your why? You go to them and you say, what's your purpose? And they're like, man,
Never thought about it.
I ain't think about that. That's a good question. Man, they'll go this far. You good, Principal Kafele. You good, Kafele. You asked a profound question, right? Like, no, it ain't that deep, man. I'm just asking you, what are you about? Why do you exist? Why do you live? Why do you wake up in the morning? Like, what you gonna do with your new 24 that ain't promised to nobody? What you gonna do with it? That's what I'm saying. So that person that's walking in a why, oh man, there's such a higher probability that self-actualization. I mean, we ain't gonna never get to that point, but you're gonna get closer to it because you have a purpose for living. You have a purpose for waking up in the morning. You have a purpose for getting out of bed. You have a purpose for starting your day, as opposed to that one just get up in the morning and let's see what today brings. I hope it's better than yesterday. I ain't never said that, man. I hope today is better than yesterday. Are you kidding me? Today is going to be better than yesterday because I'm going to walk in my why as a continuation from yesterday. See, that's a different way of looking at life, y'all. Go ahead. Back at you.
Yes, I'm sharing some of these comments, guys. Thank you for these comments. We look forward to coming back on, being able to discuss our community and what Kwanzaa means. Thank you guys so much. Know your why, know your purpose. Yes.
Yeah, y'all keep coming back, y'all. We doing 7 days. I don't know if I'm gonna be on here all 7. We'll see. But Dr. Chika Akua will be here Wednesday and Thursday and Sunday. I know that for sure. And y'all be here. I'll be here tomorrow. And you're gonna hear it different because Chika deep, man. Chika
you deep and Chika's deep.
I'm just raw. You know what I'm saying? Chika's intellectual. He's deep.
Right. Chika make it be like, oh, I gotta go meditate and go in the corner and like and recontemplate my life. Right. Principal Kafele and Dr. Chess are just raw. Principal Dr. Chika, y'all, he brings about this peace. There's just like this that he emanates. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Awaken the genius.
That's right.
That's what your spirit needed. No, we all need to reignite our fire sometimes.
That's right. That's right. I appreciate seeing you too, Keena.
Yes. And so, guys, we're going to end for tonight. So, Principal Kafele, what are your parting words? I'll part after you part. What are your parting words?
My parting words are, first, thanks everybody for being here. We literally put this together this morning. I mean, this evening. You had the thought and called us, and so it's not like we knew this like weeks ago that we were going to do this. So appreciate you coming on. Those who were here, keep coming back. Tell somebody else to come on tomorrow with us. We'll be here. And my parting thoughts, really though, in the post I wrote this morning, check it out. It's the Umoja post I wrote. I said that for me personally, Kwanzaa, this is my time of the year. I'm not heavy ritual with it the way I used to be. I'm just in it, right? I used to have everything set up and we doing our thing. Now I'm just kind of in it. It's my time of year. This is my week of reflection, assessment, adjustment, rejuvenation, planning, and preparation for 2023. You better best believe I'm going deep on my self-reflection this week. I'm going deep on my self-assessment this week. I'm going deep on my self-adjustment this week. I'm going deep on my rejuvenation this week. Because I got my schedule for 2023 is almost full. I'm going, and it's only December. I'm going deep on my preparation. We got the dog in here in real time. I'm going deep in my planning because I want to be ready. I want to come out strong out the gate. I see Chris Gasson. I see you did what I said. I just saw your name. I want to come out the gate strong and ready to have a phenomenal 2023. So I'm saying that to say to all of you who are on the call this morning, use this week for yourself to engage in some serious self-reflection, not daydreaming, but reflecting deeply on yourself. You just use the week beyond Umoja, use the week to just reflect on who you were last year. Assess who you were last year. Be honest with yourself. Find the flaws. Find the deficiencies. Don't ego trip in the mirror and say that I was perfect, I was great, and the issues were other people. Own that stuff, man. And look in your mirror. Where were my flaws? Where were my deficiencies? Where do I need to get better? And that's your self-adjustment. You're gonna make certain adjustments. So you're gonna have your pen and you're gonna write this stuff. You're gonna journal it. I mean, you could type it, but it's better when you journal it. So you journal it out. Make sure you engage in that rejuvenation. I mean, take it down, right? But plan and prepare so that when that clock strikes 12 on December 31st, you ready to go. Bam! I got this, man. You go, yo, this ain't me talking. This is you now. 2023 is mine. I got this. I'm taking my life to another level, a level that I've never imagined before, a level that I've never conceptualized before. I didn't even know that I could do this. Hey, Melissa, hang on a second. I just said something that jogged something in my head. In August, I wrote a book. I had no intentions on writing the book until the fall. But we couldn't go on a cruise for reasons I'm not going to get into right now. So I'm home for 9 days. I said, all right, well, I'm home. Let me write this book. So I write the book. But before I wrote it, I called the publisher. I said, send me a contract for 3 books. Now, when I wrote my last book, in my mind, I ain't got nothing else to write. Because I got 12 books. I'm like, I'm done. I got nothing else in the tank. I don't have enough stuff up here to write another book. So now, as I go into my self-reflection, my self-assessment, my rejuvenation, my adjustment, etc., I said, man, I got not 1 book in me. I got 3 books in me. See, I'm hollering at somebody. Somebody don't hear me. I'm saying you got to disconnect, turn off the computer, turn off the phone, turn off the TV, turn off all the devices, turn your lights off, find a corner in your house somewhere, and it's just you. Tell your friends, your family, I get with you later. Find your private place in your crib and just sit there and get reconnected to you. Some of y'all don't know you. You disconnected from you because you so connected to the world through your social media and your phone. So you don't know you. You lost touch with your essence. So I'm saying to you, connect with you. So when I reconnected with me, I didn't have just 1 book in me. I went on and wrote, I went on and signed a contract for 3 books. So now I wrote the first one. It comes out in May. The next one comes out next May, and the next one comes out the next May. So for the next 3 years, I got a new book, where a year ago, I thought I was done with writing books because I didn't think I had nothing else in me. Imagine that. So I'm hollering at somebody out here. Somebody need to hear that. Don't you limit yourself. Don't you think you don't have anything else in the tank. God gave you the ability to keep growing and keep evolving and to keep transforming. Man, he gave that to you. But if you're so connected to your Facebook page, your Instagram page, your TikTok page, you connected to all this external, but you ain't connected to the internal. And that's why this is so important. And with that being said, I ain't got nothing else to say.
And with that being said, I'm going to take that baton. And when you do reflect, assess, rejuvenate, plan, and prepare, understand that you cannot keep all of that to yourself, right? Yeah. You got to share that. You got to share that with others. You have to share that with your family and your community and the culture and your schools and your places of work. Understand that You are not to keep it all to yourself.
That's right.
Right? The principles of Kwanzaa, it's about collectively accomplishing much. And to his point, if you're there and you're and you're assessing, you're saying, I just don't have it, you have the resources. You have the ability to reach out to those who do. And it is okay to use your village and your community to get some of the things that you need, because they're not all within you. Some of them are within your community and your village. And let's commit to saying hello to one another, starting tonight, today. Let's commit to acknowledging one another and seeing the greatness in ourselves and each other, so that we can keep going and we can keep fulfilling what our ancestors want us to fulfill. Some of us are our ancestors' wildest dreams. Some of us have now actualized what it is our ancestors have struggled and died and served for. But it's within each of us, and we just have to connect to that. That's it, guys. We just want you to know that. And we are so looking forward to having this conversation the rest of this week. Thank you guys for jumping on with, like he said, it was a notion that I had. If you all know me, I just be, oh, let's do this. I got an idea. Let's do it. And I just thank God. I just thank the creator for those who say, Doc, I got you. Okay, yeah. I mean, not that he needed to do this. Principal Kafele didn't need to do it. He didn't need, he said, I have nothing on my schedule, and I was good with that. But because he understands unity and community, he was more than willing to. And I so don't ever take that for granted. I don't take for granted those of you who decided to join us tonight. As he said, share it, because we're going to be here the next 6 days. We're going to continue to talk about Kwanzaa and how to apply that personally, professionally within our communities, our nation, and to the culture. And we so thank you guys and look forward to seeing you all tomorrow. Umoja. Happy Kwanzaa.